Duelists, it is I, Hellgear, bringing you the Penguin deck profile for post Brothers of Legend. Brothers of Legend brings the advent of water monster support, and some of those cards have been incorporated into this deck, and I like the way the results have been coming up for them. So, like, sub, and bell for more penguin-y goodness, because when the rest of the water support stuff comes out, it actually does work very well with your penguin deck. As always, gonna begin this with the tried and true 3 flying penguins. Gotta love these guys. Use Bolt Penguin if you don't have them. Just remember, Bolt Penguin is level 3. And a Thunder monster, not a level 4 Aqua monster, like these guys are. The unexpected die targets. And I'm glad to have them. One day Konami will reprint these guys. I mean, they've only been around for almost 20 years. I have bumped Penguin Squire up to 3 now. In my previous build of Burst of Destiny, I had 2. I have now added 1 more, and the 3rd one does come up. If you have a face-down monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can lower its level to either 4 or 3. This is one of 2 tuners in the deck, but this is a tuner that must be synchro summoned into a water monster. That is not a big deal. Once per turn, you can flip a face-down monster face-up, but if it's not a penguin, its effect is negated. That's not too big of a deal, folks. Speaking of flips, let's get our flip effect guys in. So we have 2 Nightmare Penguin, 2 Penguin Soldier, and 2 Penguin Ninjas. Let me zoom the camera out a bit more to get everybody in focus here. So, Nightmare Penguin isn't a flip effect per se, but its effect does activate when it's flipped, allowing you to bounce a card. Obviously, one your opponent controls. The other 2 are flip effects. Penguin Soldier, when flipped up, can bounce up to 2 monsters on the field. And Penguin Ninja can bounce up to 2 Speller Traps on the field. Then, once per turn, the Ninja can flip a card face down. So, if you flip it up, you can hit 2 back row, and then flip it back down. Next up, 2 copies of Glacial Beast Polar Penguin. This guy is the other tuner in your deck and has 2 1 effect per turn things that you can do. You can either, when it's special summon, bounce a monster your opponent controls, or if it's destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, bounce a card your opponent controls. 2 No Penguins, the Golden Savior himself. Always going to be Chainlink 2 when a penguin effect activates, special summoning himself from the graveyard. This is not optional, it always happens. And anytime a penguin monster bounces a card, the card or cards are banished instead. Some singles we have here, we have 1 Penguin Cleric, 1 Puny Penguin, and 1 Great Emperor Penguin. Penguin Cleric is a useful card to have in time. Odds are you're not going to pitch this card from your hand to bring back a penguin. More times than not, you're just going to boost up a penguin monster's attack by 600 which also gives you 600 life. Great Emperor Penguin is a whole lot playable, well, a whole lot more playable now thanks to some of the recent Bursts of Destiny spell game. Tribute it, and you can special summon up to 2 other penguin monsters from your deck. Puny Penguin, after it's flipped face up and sent to the graveyard, can special summon a penguin from the graveyard in either face up attack or face down defense position. 1 Ice Jade Acti. On summon, you draw a card and you discard a card. This is one of the ways to get the Cold and Savior No Penguin into the graveyard. The other effects don't matter because it is the only Ice Jade monster in this build. Though Ice Jade Penguins is a deck. One I have to look into a little bit more. Everybody's favorite crack cocaine hand trap, Ash Blossom. The newest spell in the Penguin arsenal is Penguin Sword. It equips only to penguin monsters, giving the equipped penguin 800 extra attack points. If the equipped penguin deals damage, it can bounce a card once per turn. The card bounced has its activated effects negated, as well as any other cards of the same name also negated. What I want to tell you is this. If you bounce a card off of Penguin Sword, no penguin does not banish it. I want to repeat that one more time. If you bounce a card by the effect of Penguin Sword, no penguin does not banish it. No penguin's banishing is restricted to penguin monsters. Penguin Sword is just one of the cards you can get from the Royal Penguin Garden. A lot of people are telling me to play this at 3, but I like playing it at 2, and it's not clutter. On activation, it rotas any penguin card. Any of the monsters, it can rota the sword. Then you discard a card. This also allows you to, once per turn, target 1 penguin in your hand or on the field and lower its level by 1. It actually has a very interesting combination with Water Hazard. We want to thank Kiratwig for catching the eye on this one. Water Hazard is your enabler, folks. Once per turn, if you control no monsters, special summon a level 4 lower water monster. This card makes it so that you don't have to conduct your normal summon out the bat. One of the things I like to do with Water Hazard is play Water Hazard, special summon Glacial Beast Polar Penguin. This forces your opponents to negate. Simply because on special summon, you're bouncing one of your opponent's monsters. And if no penguin is in your graveyard, you have an automatic Chainlink 2. And there you go, off to the races. As Kiratwig pointed out, you can use Royal Penguin Garden to lower the Great Emperor Penguin's level to 4, then special summon it from your hand with Water Hazard's effect, tribute it, get 2 penguins, and off to the races you go. We know about these guys. We know about them. We know how these work. I don't have to explain that to you. Surface is just another revival spell, bringing back one of your aqua monsters in face-up defense position. 2 unexpected die. This works with our Flying Penguin, or Bolt Penguin, respectively. 2 Books of Moon. This can flip down a monster. And also works very well because you can flip down your own monsters too. And then we have 2 Memorials of Greed for draw. You'll replace these with pot later on. Unless you're playing common charity format. Trap game. I run one copy of the Icebound God. If you control 2 water monsters, target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack, and its effects are negated. So essentially, we're using this for the negates. And penguin decks need their negates. If a level 5 or higher water monster is summoned while this card is in your graveyard, you can set it, but banish it when it leaves the field, and that effect is once per turn. This combos very well with not only the Great Emperor Penguin, but your Squires too. Also on the negate train are 2 copies of Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier, to me, is essentially a watered-down version of Phantom Knight's Fog Blade. You're negating your monster's attack. They can't attack, but you're lowering their attack to 0. This is a nice little bit of interruption so you can swing at a penguin monster, or swing with a penguin monster, especially one armed with the sword, to bounce another card on the field. You can also send a level 5 water monster from your deck to the graveyard, then add a water monster from your deck to your hand once per turn. So, you can get either your Squires in your graveyard and then Rhoda another card. Too bad you can't send our wonderful Cold and Savior No Penguin to the grave off of this, but hey, you got Foolish Burial, you have Ice Jade Acti, and you even have the Royal Penguin Garden for that. Because you also have to discard a card off of that one. Where did I put that extra deck? There it is. The extra deck hasn't gone through too many changes. It's almost exactly the same as last time. 2 of the Penguin Brave. This is the good stuff right here. On Synchro Summon, you special summon a penguin monster face down. And, as a quick effect, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can flip a face up. You can flip face up a face down monster you have. This is a good way of synchro summoning this. You either special summon Penguin Soldier, Ninja, or Nightmare Penguin face down. Then, when your opponent plays a monster, you flip them up. You'll chain the No Penguin in your graveyard, and you get a nice banish bounce. Coral Dragon is a good way to blast a card. We like Coral Dragon for blasting a card. I like using this over Desert Locusts. It's that simple. Also, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. Something Desert Locusts does not grant you. One Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Boundary. Discard up to 2 cards. Blast up to 2 cards on the field once per turn. Great Old Dragon is one of the 2 level 8s in the deck. If it is synchro summoned, it can blast cards on the field equal to the number of water monsters used for its summon. And when it is sent from field to graveyard, you can get a water monster back as material. If you want to go for the physical pressure, you can special summon that as your level 8 synchro. Or if you want to go the route for a negate, you have Dragite to do just that. Trishu! We love Trishu. We know how Trish works. Remember, Nightmare Penguin and Flying Penguin are level 4, so Dweller is live. And Dweller's so good. We know how good Dweller is. And then, of course, we have the Shark and the Toad. Shark and Toad do good work in this deck. Not gonna lie. They do really good work. Especially if you have the water hazard build. You can water hazard into... You can either water hazard or unexpected die into a flying penguin, normal summon nightmare penguin, overlay into shark, detach for toad, and if you've got aqua monsters in your hand, you've got some negates working for you, and that's always a good thing. Number 47, Nightmare Shark, is another water monster. You can also pull this off of Bahamut Shark, and because you have majority of penguins at level 3, you can exceed summon into this normally. You detach one material from Nightmare Shark. It's the only monster that can attack, but it attacks directly. And at 2 racks, that's not bad. Number 75 is the Penguin deck's answer to Nibiru. And yes, it is the answer to Nibiru. If you go through with your board and you go into number 75, the moment your opponent uses Nibiru on your board, you can just use 75's detach and change the effect to each player draws a card. We gotta love those quick play disruptions, man. Turning Nibiru into send everything to the graveyard and put up a token to draw a card. That's creme de la creme right there. Mistar Boy for the attack point boosts. Coral Anemone to further extend on link summons, get something back. At 1500 attack or less, you've got options. And the Nightmare Unicorn to bounce things away if you need to, or if you've already used the Cold and Savior No Penguins once per turn bouncing effect from the graveyard. That's all for this version of the Penguin deck. I'm looking forward to the updated build of this when we get that incoming water support from Legendary Duelist 9, or as it's going to be called, Duelist of the Abyss. Like, sub, and bell for more. Let me know what you think of my build. But for now, I take my cards to the box because I'm done. Bye-bye, everybody.